Welcome one and all to another Luke Fruia show here. Talking sports at Luke Fruia Motors. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network, RSL in. Of course, if you're in the market for a new car, drop by and stop here at Luke Fruia Motors, Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. They'll take really good care of you right off the exit of none other than Price Road, Old Alice Road. Again, looking forward to this show. There's so much to talk about, so much to, of course, break down from this past week. Oh my goodness, is there so much to break down for, of course, those regional semis and then the regional finals that happened last night in, of course, none other than soccer. It's been a fun 2 weeks for myself, and then, of course, this week is the third week, and well, happy April Fool's Day. There will be no jokes, of course, here today, though. That's all just, of course, a breakdown of this week's sports and what is coming up, what is coming up, of course, this week. And then, of course, we have the showcase in a week from now, just about on the 11th. That's going to be exciting once again. There's just a lot, of course, to really take in. We'll talk more about that next week, I'm sure. That will have Joe Bowling or somebody on the show to really kind of break that down and how fun it'll be at South Padre Island at their convention center for that week as well. There's just a lot, of course, that is up in that. But, of course, for this week, very, very, very exciting stuff to, of course, break down from even UTRGV baseball. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. If we have enough time, we might not have enough time. I want to get to, of course, breaking down and telling you all what the Final Four is going to be for this year's March Madness basketball, both on the men's and women's side, of course. They have the Final Four, and it's going to be this weekend. Saturday, of course, being the men's Final Four. Sunday, I believe, being the women's, if not Friday being the women's, one of the two around there. Being exactly that. So very, very exciting coming up into it. And then, of course, well, just like I mentioned, a lot really to talk about. The Final Four is also set for boys and girls, 5A, 6A, 4A, 3A soccer. And that's, of course, something that I'll talk a little bit about. The RGV missing out on the Final Four this year. Unfortunately, no teams, if I'm not mistaken, made it to the Final Four. We'll, of course, double-check that when we go on into the show. Now, of course, what is coming up here on Rio Sports Live Network for this upcoming Thursday? We do have a couple of games, at least on the schedule. There might be more tomorrow by that time. Just letting you all know, there are no games, of course, on Friday, which makes perfect sense if you think about it. What is Friday? Friday is Good Friday, and so the RGV, the UIL, everybody were smart enough to say, okay, let's play our games Thursday. Let's have a Tuesday and Thursday for our games so that, therefore, it doesn't mess with anyone's holiday plans for that Friday. Of a lot of people, of course, what ends up happening is they're with family basically all day. They go to church that Friday evening for their Easter service or something along those lines normally. So it's a lot of family planning, and it's just, of course, a nice time indeed to just take a break from just the hustle of life in a way. So anyways, that's exactly why they ended up doing it. It's just for that, so that no one has to cancel plans or something of that sort. So that's something, of course, to keep in mind. Now, very exciting once again here, as we have a lot to take in store for you all. There we go, once again. So, looking forward to this, of course, this show. There's a lot to talk about, and let's start it up with, of course, the soccer talk. Let's start it up, of course, with the start of last Tuesday, but let's start it up with last Thursday, to be exact. The regional semifinals. That was an exciting day because we had multiple teams playing from the valley around Texas to be exact, around the regional side of Texas, the Region 4 to be exact, from Victoria, Beeville, and even, of course, Corpus. Those areas, normally the coastal bend area around that side, even Laredo as well, let me not forget that, host a lot of the regional semis and the regional finals, especially after they went to divisions. Back when soccer, basketball, all of those didn't have divisions, this was a key thing. They would just host the regional semis and finals under 2 days at one place. And so that made things very interesting. So basically, it was from Brownsville for soccer in general. It was from Brownsville to San Antonio. Those would rotate every 2 years. And now it's completely different with the divisions where they've split it up just like football, where only Georgetown is played for the championship games, if I'm not mistaken, on top of the weekend. It might still be the semis and finals played at Georgetown, but I'm not entirely certain on that because they moved the basketball to, if I'm not mistaken, just the Alamo Dome for the championship games, just like they did for football at Jerry World, aka AT&T Stadium, which is, of course, in Arlington, Texas, which is the Dallas metro area, basically the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of technicalities when it comes down to it. And so in the regional semifinals, a lot of the games, of course, for us here at RSLN, we ended up going up to Corpus Christi, which would be basically, instead of Buccaneer Stadium, they didn't play any games at Buccaneer Stadium. It was at none other than Cabinus Stadium and Cabinus Stadium West and East. Those extra facilities that complex has, where normally you would have Corpus Christi King, Corpus Christi Carroll, and I'm missing a couple of other, I believe, Corpus Christi maybe around those schools would play their games, their baseball, softball, and of course football, as well as soccer. They play most of their home games there in general. And so that made things, of course, very interesting, to say the least. So that was very cool that they hosted a lot of those games there. And for Thursday, I headed down there with my camera operator, and we covered one game that weekend, or one game on Thursday to be exact. And that game started at 7 p.m. There was another game that I believe started at 5:30 that day. But anyways, it was very exciting. It was going to be interesting because the Friday was going to be the big day with most games starting at 5:30, and you'd have two games basically that day. So the one that I did was at 7 p.m. It was McAllen High School. They took on none other than New Braunfels. The New Braunfels nickname, of course, they're the Unicorns. So the Lady Unicorns, to be exact, for that game in general versus the Lady Bulldogs. And the Lady Unicorns, of course, let's tell you exactly who they were going to play if they were to win, or who McAllen High School were going to play if they were going to win that one. And it was very interesting for that in general. Because coming into it, not too long beforehand, I'd covered McAllen High School, the girls' soccer team, and they were a very specific team of, okay, can they score against the wind is going to be key, but can they score with the wind also? Because they played against McAllen Memorial High School in their final regular season game about a week prior to that, or 2 weeks prior to that, to be exact. And it was interestingly difficult for them to really hold their own in that match, as they got shut out 3-0. So it was going to be a key thing of, could they compete with New Braunfels, to say the least. And the winner of that one was most likely going to play Smithson Valley. So that was kind of a thing that everyone knew, to say the least. And Smithson Valley and New Braunfels, if you all don't know, were very heavily rivals. And so if those two schools played against each other, most likely they'd flip, unless it was a rematch of a year prior or anything like that, if they had played against each other in soccer playoffs before then. So that was going to be interesting. But as for the McAllen High School Lady Bulldogs, could they at least hold their own in the first half with the wind to their backs, or the wind to their faces, basically, in that first half? And 2-0 instantly for that first half for New Braunfels High School, putting themselves in a very good position. But I was thinking to myself, the way that McAllen High School had that momentum in the end of the first half, there is a chance that this team can come back and be able to tie it up and potentially win this match here at this field. Well, I was a little wrong, to say the least, because in that second half, it was just about, for the rest of it, all New Braunfels High School. And it ended up being a shutout, 5-0. There was a hat trick scored, and it was a fantastic job by New Braunfels, just taking care of business when they needed to. And that's not the first time they've taken care of business against a McAllen school. Back in, of course, the football days, that second round, to be exact, McAllen Memorial played against New Braunfels High School, and New Braunfels took care of business in that game to face off and move on in their football ranks. So it was going to be difficult, and it was going to be interesting, to say the least. And sure enough, all of a sudden, yes, New Braunfels High School took advantage, I believe, of a red card as well, and so really put together everything that they needed to do to have this almost perfect match indeed. And sure enough, 5-0 was enough for them to play against their rivals of New Braunfels. We'll talk a little bit about them, what happened on their Friday match, on their Tuesday match, March 31st, last night. That match started at about 7:15 p.m., and New Braunfels High School had to play the away playoff match against Smithson Valley, so it ended up being at Smithson Valley, which is um, not the furthest distance away, but it's not. We all know how big San Antonio is, so they're not extremely close, but they're, of course, not too far away either. And sure enough, Smithson Valley are now on their way to state. They win 4-1 and win Region 4 Division 1. And will make it to the Final Four, the state semifinals. The state semifinals for Smithson Valley. They will play against, for Smithson Valley, very quickly, just want to make sure who they will be playing to give you all the info you will need. AMCHS, I believe that is A&M College Station High School. Might be wrong. Let's A&M Consolidated. My mistake there. A&M Consolidated Tigers in the semifinals, as Kingwood Park lost 4-0 against them. That is, of course, in girls soccer. So that was, of course, that regional semifinals done and dusted on that Thursday. It was just a very difficult match for McAllen High School. We knew it coming into it. How would McAllen High School be able to compete? Again, 2-0. You really thought in that first half, at the end of the first half, that McAllen High School found something and had an opportunity to really take advantage of it. Could not do anything about it. And sure enough, in that second half, it was all New Braunfels in the end, winning 5-0, scoring 3 goals in that second half to make sure that they would make it to the Elite 8. Unfortunately, that's where their road would end. Smithson Valley take advantage of it and make it to state, the state semifinals to be exact. So very exciting. For congratulations again to none other than Smithson Valley. They'll go fight for another state title. And of course, their road from football, basketball, whatever their sport is, it seems like they always know how to get the job done. So meanwhile, of course, now we go on to the Division II side of things in girls soccer. In 5A, to be exact, even before we've touched the 6A realm or the boys soccer realm, because there's so many games, of course, to talk about. Let's even dive really quickly into it. The 6A, everyone that wanted to know about how Harlingen High School did, well, they were able to win, of course, on that Tuesday to move on from the area round to the regional semifinals, playing against their opponent. So Harlingen High School take their team to the they played against Dripping Springs to be exact. Oh my goodness, we'll be right back.
100 years ago, in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley, a spark was born. From the first dreamers who stepped onto these grounds, Texas Southmost College has stood as a promise that determination can overcome any challenge. Join us as we honor our past, celebrate our present, and ignite the future together. Texas Southmost College, 100 years strong, and the next 100 begin with you.
Elevation, AT4, AT4X, Denali. Case closed. Fruia GMC, we're professional grade.
Back we go once again here. Never a dull moment at Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. We got that all fixed and all straightened away. A little funny there. Back in, of course. Back here we go. Just talking a little bit about it. We go back to it. Harlingen High School played against Dripping Springs, and it was a 1-goal to 1-goal. It was 1-goal and a nil, if I'm not mistaken. Earlier, Harlingen High School had taken advantage of their opportunities that they had and ended up losing in PKs. Let's talk a little bit about that match very quickly. Against Dripping Springs High School, that's not an easy team to just play against in general. And sure enough, I believe we'll have the box score. Yes, indeed. Harlingen High School led 1-goal to 0 at halftime. And in that second half, Dripping Springs were able to find that equalizing goal at 1 goal apiece. And then one in PKs, 4-3. It means that they went into extra time. Those 2 10-minute periods of extra time did not matter because neither side could break through and went to PKs, and 4-3. Dripping Springs High School ended up winning. That was a big match for them. Dripping Springs, of course, we all know them from their football days and how well they are there and all of that, but still, being in that region, in Region 4 to be exact, that's very difficult to break through in general, and that's how good Harlingen High School girls soccer have been all season long, and that's, of course, very exciting indeed. Well, let's go back down to it. Of course, Dripping Springs High School, who did they play? After, of course, remember, Harlingen High School beat San Antonio Clemens to get to the region semifinals. Dripping Springs tied Vandergrift 1 goal apiece and ended up very quickly defeating Vandergrift. Again, right back to it in PKs. Just this time 6-5 in PKs. Winning the region, they will be heading to state to play against none other than Kingwood. Very, very exciting in that realm. So, again, both of those two teams, both of those two schools, Harlingen High School and McAllen High School, they were eliminated. One was in 6A and the other one in 5A. Of course, that was D1, though. Now D2, of course, in 5A for McAllen Memorial got to host first, of course, we all know, against none other than Gregory Portland High School. We all talked about that. Phenomenal job by McAllen Memorial, winning 5-1. I anticipated that match on Friday to be a lot different than we had ever anticipated or ever seen it before. This is where things got perfect. This is where things got very just interesting, to say the least. Of course, I got to call that one. Let's even stop before we talk about McAllen Memorial and their ride in that whirlwind of an emotional matchup against Cedar Park, the defending state champions. You go back to it in the match right before. This time, of course, I go back to the same place. This time, of course, the actual stadium. And I got to, of course, call with Ignacio Cruz, a.k.a. Nacho, that we call him, the Palmview taking on none other than Leander Glenn, a team that has been such a difficult team to defeat from any Valley school in the last 3 or so years in general. And it's happened before, and then there's been some losses, and it's been upsetting. For Valley teams, here's where it gets even more interesting. So, Palmview High School and Leander Glenn, they go for a 0-0 draw in the first half. The wind was against Palmview in that first half. And so La Jolla Palmview coming into the second half, even I said at halftime, this is going to be interesting. Can they take advantage of the wind? We'll wait and see. And sure enough, they did. They had a lot more opportunities in on goal, but still, Lobos could not break through. There were still opportunities for the opposition of Leander Glenn to go back down the field as well and score. So it was very open, even with how heavy the wind was. Of course, you're near the coast. You're going to have those types of matches. It's just the way soccer is around that area. It's just the way soccer is down here in the valley, too. So very, 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 very exciting. Here's where things get interesting. Foul is called. It's about a little under 8 minutes to play. Here comes Palmview High School. Set piece opportunity. This is just past midfield. About maybe 20 yards past midfield to be exact. Everyone's in the box lined up. I'd say the defending was well from Leander Glenn at this time, but you just have to leave one open or just get on the wrong foot to allow for a set piece opportunity to go as well as it did for Palmview High School. Perfect service from the free kick. Opportunity. Gets ahead on it. Goes in the bottom right corner. Beats the keeper. La Jolla Palmview lead 1-0. That late in the match in the second half. What a goal. Palmview survive and advance to the Elite Eight at the time. We'll talk very quickly about how their Elite Eight went, though, for the Palmview Lobos in Laredo, which was last night. As RSLN, Real Sports Live Network, we were trying to get the rights for that one. We ended up getting dismissed, or we got declined the rights to show that match for you all, to be there, to cover it live on, of course, RSLN. So it was interesting. Of course, La Jolla Palmview got to play against none other than San Antonio Southwest High School. We're just trying to make sure of exactly all that ended up happening and making sure, yes, Southwest Legacy, to be exact, was the team. So against Southwest Legacy High School in Laredo, a team or a place that I guess San Antonio Southwest are kind of used to in a way, because they have to play a lot against those types of teams, those types of schools. And again, this is for the regional final. This is to get to a state semifinal, potentially. Southwest Legacy, of course, I believe it was kind of early in that match, score and go up 1-0. Early on in the match, and at halftime, that was your score. Both sides battled it out back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But in the end, it stayed 1-0. Palmview could not get the equalizing goal in regulation in San Antonio Southwest. Southwest Legacy High School, to be exact, will advance to the state semifinals. Very exciting for them. And, well, congratulations to Southwest Legacy High School on making it to state, winning the Region 4 in the end, and representing Region 4 to be exact. Eliminates, of course, Palmview High School. That's how Palmview's road into Georgetown ended. Now, of course, one of the final teams in the RGV at that time for girls soccer, at least, because it was still McAllen Memorial along with Harlingen High School. Both of them played on that Friday. Harlingen High School ended up losing, of course, to Dripping Springs. We talked about that one. Now, how about none other than McAllen Memorial High School? And, of course, Nicky Rowe High School were still alive at that time as well. They played against San Antonio Piper and, unfortunately, ended up losing. We'll talk quickly about how how all of that went. But let's focus once again on McAllen Memorial here for a second. They got to play against McAllen Memorial, which was Cedar Park High School, in the regional semifinal matchup. And, well, let me tell you something. It was crazy. Early in the match, of course, McAllen Memorial got to have the wind to their backs in the first half. Cedar Park picked the wind to their backs for the second half, and for this reason exactly. I got to talk to the head coach after the match as well, and he talked a lot about it. This is what we like to do. We like to pick the wind to our backs for the second half for a reason, because it feels like we have that advantage to really go and dominate that second half. Potentially, yes, if we have to climb back, we will climb back, and normally we'll be able to be victorious in the end. So let's talk about it. In that second half, for, of course, none other than McAllen Memorial High School, early in that first half, missed a couple of opportunities. Open goal, Kennedy Kaiser kind of on that right side, gets blocked by the keeper, tries to take a strike, could not. Keeper makes a save. Bit of an open opportunity there, save. A couple of opportunities just go sail over the goal. And it was well defended by Cedar Park, like we mentioned. But early on in that match, once again, here comes Kennedy Kaiser being able to get a beautiful through ball, turns around, plays it perfectly, has an opportunity, weaves her way around two defenders, again off to the right, gets open, slots it home as the keeper tries to block that area, could not, goes around her, back of the net it goes. McAllen Memorial is up 1-0. Now, on my call, I was a little excited about that match, about that goal, because, again, they had played each other a year ago. Even back tracking to that point of it, it was 3-0 was the final, as Cedar Park High School won that one on their way to win state that same year. So that was interesting. But as for none other than Cedar Park said, okay, game on. It's a 1-0 opportunity, McAllen Memorial. And not too long after that, McAllen Memorial and the Lady Mustangs, they get a corner kick. Corner kick, it was deflected out for a corner, and there was an opportunity. And I want to say the player's name perfectly once again, as this was very interesting, to say the least. Just the way that it all kind of happened. Very quickly again. It just, because it was very fair indeed. And yes, indeed, Aitana Mata taking the corner kick. Set piece opportunity. McAllen Memorial had a bit of height disadvantage when it came to corner kicks, just a little, but not by much. Corner kick is taken, and Mata goes for what seems to be the far post, but tests the keeper beautifully. The keeper backtracks, tries to get a hand on it. It ends up being an Olympico goal. No one else touched it but the keeper, puts it in the back of the net, and it ends up being 2-0 that early in the match. Then McAllen Memorial had to defend more than anything, still in that first half, and all of a sudden, reason why Cedar Park are as good as they are, back of the net it goes. It's 2-1 right before halftime. Halftime approaches. 2-1 your score. McAllen Memorial still lead by 1 goal. And it stayed that way for a good portion of that second half. As the time just continued to count down in that first half, or check that in that second half, the first portion of that second half as well, then here we go. Keeper sends that one away. Opportunity. It's slotted home. And 2-2. Brindley able to tie that one up, finding the back of the net for the equalizing goal. What a phenomenal job. Then, here comes McAllen Memorial with a couple opportunities, though, but could not, and laid into it. Very late into it, about 3-4 minutes left to play or something like that. Here comes Brindley once again. Kind of a bad giveaway for McAllen Memorial. Takes advantage of it. Tries to slot it home. Over the keeper it goes. Keeper tries to make the save. Could not. Back of the net it goes. 3-2. Cedar Park High School took advantage of that second half perfectly, made sure that they knew exactly what to do, and still McAllen Memorial late in that match had two very close opportunities to find the back of the net. It ended up being deflected out for one more corner kick. Corner kick was taken after the free kick, actually. Corner kick taken. And sets it up. Header just far right. Could not get the hit that she wanted on it. And Cedar Park, with 8 seconds left at that time, just send it out of play and run on the field to celebrate as they advanced to another Elite Eight with a chance at state. What a match. 3-2 final. Cedar Park win. But almost kind of at the death in a way. And so it was congratulations to them. They played a phenomenal second half, and they knew exactly what they needed to do, and took that one goal before halftime was the difference, the key difference in the end. And sure enough, that's what ended up happening. So fantastic job. Again, McAllen Memorial had a phenomenal season, something that they can be very, very proud of, but just could never break that regional semifinal barrier from when I could ever remember. Even when my sister back in the day played for McAllen Memorial from 2016, 15, 14, just could not break through. Then around 2019 season, and 21, 22, I believe 23, 24, those years, just could never break through to the Elite Eight, unfortunately. As for Cedar Park High School, how did they do? Could they have that opportunity to go back to state? After that one, played against San Antonio Piper on the road, and it did end up going into extra time, to be exact. Your box score of that match was just the key. Cedar Park High School were down 1-0 at halftime, leave down 2-0 and tied it up 2-2. Goes into extra time number 1. 2 straight goals from San Antonio Piper High School. Cedar Park High School could not get any in that second half of extra time. And just like that, your final 4-2. Piper High School are your Region 4 Division II 5A champions. They'll play for a chance at state once again. And can it come back to Region 4? It's going to be tough because Piper High School, San Antonio Piper High School to be exact, they will play against none other than, as we get you all with the teams that they will play, Lake Creek High School. That's going to be on the 3rd, so it's this week coming up. So, crazy, crazy stuff, to say the least. And that's the way that the RGV season, at least for that, ended. Last night, of course, with Palmview losing, same went for. Valley View, same went for. Of course, none other than Brownsville Veterans Memorial could not get the job done. And sure enough, that's how the season will finish for everyone. So it was a fun season, best memory that I can have of this year. Getting to cover McAllen Memorial for the most part, getting to cover, of course, a lot of those matchups. The playoffs were absolutely phenomenal. Just having those memories in a way, just the atmospheres for all of the matches was worth it. As much as I could cover, it was the best. Because that team is very special to, of course, me. A little biased, of course, going towards it and all of that. But then you look at it just, I mean, it was a special season. Going to cover Pioneer High School in their first round against Porter, a team that is used to going to the regional semis or regional finals as well, could not even get that one done because Pioneer High School were able to get the job done and defeat them. So that's crazy to think indeed, and in general. But yeah, gonna miss the season because it was a special one with a lot of players that will be playing college soccer. Their job's not done yet, but it stinks because again, the RGV steps away, even on girls soccer side, to have a chance to go to state. We'll take a break. When we return, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about March Madness a little bit, and then we'll move on to some UTRGV baseball talk because that's been fun to go to those games. And also, they're in the RGV, UTRGV for a reason. And Texas Rio Grande Valley, they deserve the coverage that they can get. And I want to talk about them. They're officially 13. Check that, 13 and 14 now officially overall. And we'll need to pick up this series this weekend. Again, a lot to talk about. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after that. Stay tuned.
I fell on a loose towel at the grocery store, and now they're saying it's my fault. Do you think you could help?
Of course I can help. You should be focused on feeling better.
Oh, thank you, Law Champ. Hey, do you think I can get a selfie?
Of course.
This is the island where adulting takes its own vacation. South Padre is more than an island. It's the island.
The middle. It's in! And it's another touchdown! Now that becomes a hit. Castillo on. And that's going to be a fumble recovered by the Cardinals.
Rev up your future with Texas Southmost College's Auto Body Repair Program. In just 2 semesters, you'll gain the skills to become an auto body repair specialist. Learn using industry standard iCar Academy to get you job ready fast. If you're ready to drive your career forward, TSC's Auto Body Repair Program is the place to start. Classes are filling fast, so visit tsc.edu and apply today.
Back we go once again to hear from none other than Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac. Luke Fruia Motors here in Brownsville, Texas. If you're in the market for a new car, come stop by. Check it out. Talkin Sports here. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network once again. And it's been fun. It's been a very fun show so far to really talk about all of this. And when we talked about soccer, moving on, of course, is once again one more thing, I guess, final thoughts about it. What a fun season. It's unfortunate that just about every team were one step away from making it to state, but could not get the job done in the end in Region 4. That goes to show how difficult it is just to get that far in general. And I'm all looking forward to potentially next year, but we go back to it. And again, going to miss the father-daughter duo at McCall Memorial, Kennedy Kaiser with Coach Matthew Kaiser, from covering her all 4 years, covering that team all 4 of those years. It was a special group, and well, we'll see who can fill those shoes, because it's going to be a tall task to do exactly that, be that type of forward, be that type of number 9 to really take advantage of it, be on the wings, cut inside, score those goals, be that playmaker. I'm sure we'll have another one soon, but what a talented group. I digress, though. We move on. In this time, of course, talk about, March Madness, as we have officially hit the Final Four this week. The final, of course, the Elite 8 and the Sweet 16 were played this past Saturday and Sunday for our Friday and Saturday. Or was it Saturday and Sunday? Either way, they were played. And sure enough, I believe it was, yes, indeed, Thursday and Friday for the Sweet 16, Saturday and Sunday for the Elite 8. Now I'm correct on that, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, it was very interesting to say the least. The men's side, of course, you had a lot of teams that looked to most likely make it. Let's just tell you your Final Four here, which is, of course, always exciting when we get this far into it. The Final Four, of course, at Indianapolis, couldn't be a better place to play a Final Four at. It's at none other than where the Colts play, the region, of course, being, and people don't necessarily love that they're played at football fields. Let's remind ourselves, any standard arena, not even in Indianapolis. Let's talk about the biggest arena. I believe that's around Chicago. That only seats 19 to 20,000. There are a couple that seat around that much only. That's a basketball configured arena. If you play a basketball game at a football field, you can open up stands. You can seat stands, interestingly, to where they're all the way down from as far out of the court as possible. You see them all the way down. You can add over 70,000+ seats in that stadium alone. I say this because people complain that basketball games should only be played at basketball arenas. Let me tell you something. If you're averaging for a Final Four every single year over 70,000 people, don't change it one bit, because those tickets will skyrocket if they're played in an arena. All of a sudden, you're looking at one ticket price probably costing you 20 grand. Instead, they're still going to be expensive, but there's a good chance that you're going to get a ticket under $100 before all of those inflation things of hidden fees from Ticketmaster and places like that. So it's very true in general. Your Final Four, though, for this year in the NCAA basketball, the Fighting Illini go all the way to the Final Four after Florida, of course, losing. Florida getting beat by, if I'm not mistaken, the Iowa Hawkeyes. And so that was just a crazy way to get there in general. And sure enough, the Illini get to the Final Four. UConn get to the Final Four in the craziest way possible, eliminating Duke, the Duke Blue Devils, by a last-second three-pointer. We all know, of course, the play, but if you don't know, it's very quickly. UConn have it with about 27 seconds left, down officially 72-69 at the time. Inbounds a basketball, goes down the court, still has it, and then runs up near the three-point line and is fouled. It's automatically 2 free throws for the UConn Huskies at that time. Goes to the free throw line, misses the first one, but makes the second one, which was key to this whole entire story. Makes it, then all of a sudden with around that much time left, 14 seconds or around there left, full court pressure by the UConn Huskies, trying to trap and gets them blocked at midcourt. Again, a lot of these players for the Duke Blue Devils, they're still freshmen, and so makes the biggest mistake. Instead of taking the 10-second violation, which would just be don't get past half court, make them foul you if anything, decides to give it away, trying to pass it past half court, gets nervous, and that's tipped away, taken back by the UConn Huskies, who then passes one off to the right side, takes a couple of steps, waits, passes it back near the logo, takes the 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. It's good with .3 at the time left. It ended up being .4. If you can see, once the ball is legitimately in the hoop, time should stop, and it was .4 instead of .3. So there's 1/10 added. Long heave, of course. It's a little more time to catch and shoot this time. And instead, that one is deflected down. And sure enough, that's how we end that game. The UConn Huskies survive and advance to the Final Four with a chance at making it to the championship, because they just have to face the Fighting Illini of Illinois. They're a 3 seed. Like I've mentioned before, at the Big Ten, they are a massive, massive blue blood school, everything. This year, they've been absolutely amazing, is what I'm saying, because Michigan Wolverines weren't bad. I picked Purdue to make it to the Final Four over Arizona. That didn't end up happening, but Purdue were in the lead against Arizona for a little bit into that time. But Arizona, from the Big 12, have been a fantastic school this year and came back and won that game. So they're in the Final Four. They play Michigan. Your first game on the 4th of April will be the UConn Huskies taking on the Fighting Illini. The second game after that one will be Arizona taking on Michigan. That one will be fun. UConn Huskies will be the favorite to make it to the championship, to most likely face off against, well, that one's going to be very difficult, but if I had to put any money on it, I would say Arizona. But that's going to be very difficult because how good Michigan have been, and again, how deep the Big Ten are. Who knows how that will play out? I am absolutely excited to see how it all plays out. That's the men's side of the Final Four. Now let's quickly go, of course, to the women's side of the Final Four because it's been a very interesting women's basketball tournament. That one, it's interesting because we expected different teams to make it to the Final Four. That didn't happen. So, really, your Final Four this time. So we just wanted to make sure about it. Your Final Four are the UConn Huskies. They'll face off against South Carolina, the South Carolina Gamecocks to be exact. And then the UCLA Bruins taking on the Texas Longhorns. All 4 1 seeds make it to the Final Four, but it wasn't without a difficult type of side to make it to that Final Four. UConn Huskies, of course, they defeated Notre Dame, Fighting Irish 70-52. South Carolina had a little bit of a tough run with TCU for the first half of play, and then in that second half really put it into overdrive and won 78-52. The UCLA Bruins beat the Duke Blue Devils 70-58 after the Duke Blue Devils were able to win their Sweet 16 matchup against none other than, well, Virginia Cavaliers. That was TCU. The Duke Blue Devils beat Kim Mulkey's LSU by a buzzer-beating 3 to win 87-85. And then, of course, the Texas Longhorns over Kentucky Wildcats 76-54. That one was an easy victory in the end. So great job that time. And then UCLA and Texas, that was a fantastic job in general. Point is, these are going to be 2 great games, 4 best teams, 2 phenomenal games. They're both going to be national championship games before we get to the national championship. I don't know if anyone realizes how good that could potentially be for both of those games. Those will be played on the 3rd. And then, of course, your national championship might be Sunday, if not Tuesday. Let me make sure on the national championship game. That is April 5th. So from the 3rd to the 5th. So very exciting for this Final Four. Both Final Fours, I think, for the men's and women's side, you're going to enjoy all of those games just about no matter what. Can't wait for the Final Four. Looking forward to it. Now, moving on to the bigger story, I guess, that we can also talk about a little bit. Very quickly, side note, UTRGV rumored to have a head basketball coach here very soon. So that's exciting. Could be the assistant of the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't think that has been confirmed yet. So it's going to, most likely, there's going to be a head coach from a big school that has not had any head coaching experience is what you can most likely expect, something like that. That's normally how a lot of those head coaching jobs or coaches get their start, is they do from an assistant go down to another school to get their coaching experience, and then if they are successful, can go to a Power 5, Power 4 conference and be a part of one of those teams as the head coach. It's happened before in college football. It happens a lot more in college basketball. So that's interesting. Now, of course, to finish things off, I wanted to talk UTRGV basketball. And what will we be talking about here this time? It's going to be none other than talking about some college baseball. UTRGV, Texas Rio Grande Valley, of course, they played it in a series this past weekend, as well as, of course, last night played against Rice. They ended up dropping that game 6-4, but the bigger one was their series against none other than Corpus Christi, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and the Islanders in the first game on Friday night won 9-6. Their second game on Saturday ended up losing 5-1. UTRGV hit a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th inning to secure that victory, I should say. And then the grudge match on Sunday, the rubber match as people call it, it was going to be difficult. And I got there a little late past the first inning, as that's what you normally do on the Sunday game. It's going to be late attendance. People are eating lunch, finishing up, and the game starts at 1. You're going to catch most of that game closer to 2 anyways. And so sure enough, I show up there. Pace of play was pretty good for that game. But already right off the bat, it was 3-0 or 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. UTRGV struggled to score runs. And sure enough, they loaded up the bases 3 times. UTRGV loaded up the bases 3 times, and I believe hit into double plays 2 of those 3 times, if not struck out, and retired the side that way. And so it was very frustrating to see that happen constantly during that game, and where just a lot of them 3 up, 3 down innings where they're trying to hit home runs and they pop out right as the warning track wind was blowing into the stadium. And so it made things very challenging for that one. And just Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and sure enough, got that one done and got the win in a very important series victory for themselves. Let's tell you exactly, take a look at the standings, the Southland Conference baseball standings very quickly, because it's important to remember that the way that it works is the top 2 get to host sides of the tournament. And the number 1 seed will get to host, or if they make it all the way, basically number 1 seed hosts the side for head-to-head. When it's, I believe, a 2 or 3 game series, something of that sort. And UTRGV dropped down to 4th. They're 9-6 in conference play. It's 10-5 and 10-5 for Northwestern State and Lamar. Northwestern State comes into town this upcoming Thursday, Friday, Saturday, due to, of course, the weekend of Easter. Easter weekend this weekend has basically moved everything down so that nothing is really played on that Sunday, which is a great idea in my eyes, and looking forward to watching some baseball happen this weekend, and hopefully UTRGV can get their bats going and take advantage of a big team coming to town. And UTRGV, of course, 9-6. They'll want to get a victory in conference play, want to get a series victory. 2 of 3 would put them over Northwestern State. It would be 11-7 for Northwestern State, and it would be the same for UTRGV. And depending on how Southeastern and Louisiana do this weekend in their season or in their series, could determine whether or not UTRGV jump Southeastern and potentially jump Northwestern State into second due to head-to-head. So there's a lot kind of riding on this weekend. It's early, but it's not as early as you think. It's in April. It's into April. The season lasts about past May. And so there's a good amount of games, but for UTRGV, of course, you start to think about it. Of course, they have the Northwestern State series. If they can get the sweep, that would be impressive. But if they don't and only get 2 of 3, that's perfect in my eyes. And then it's on the 6th, actually. They'll play 1 game against Houston Christian University. And then 4, 10, 11, and 12 will be at Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas. And then on the 14th at Sam Houston in Huntsville. That's on the Tuesday. Then they will get to host Southeastern Louisiana. That's on the 19th. The 17th, 18th, and 19th. We talked a little bit about that. That's a big series in general. The 17th, that's a home game. That's going to be on ESPNU. What does ESPNU stand for? ESPN University, which means that's where all the college baseball games are normally played, especially if they're a smaller team. So UTRGV will get their lights to be even brighter on national TV as well as Southeastern Louisiana. We're looking forward to that game. Very big. It's going to be one of the largest games that I can recall for baseball for UTR TV. I will be there. That is a guarantee because it doesn't get any bigger than that, and especially since I just noticed it's against Southeastern Louisiana, which right now find themselves in second, or check that's third place. So it's big. You want to be those top 2 seeds to have that chance. So as we finish it off, they're going to take a 2-game road trip on the 21st and 22nd in Arkansas, Little Rock. Then they'll play at McNeese for the next 3 games in Louisiana. Then they'll go to Oregon State, travel to the beautiful side of Oregon in Oregon State. And they will go back to McNeese to play another game. If that's true, UTRGV play Oregon State again in 2 games. And then they'll play against UIW. They're saying at Abilene Christian, at Tarleton, and at Tarleton to finish off the season. So not a lot of home games really left for UTRGV, their home series to be exact. So stay tuned for all of that, as Yes versus Southeastern will be at home. So I guess that will be exciting. Once again, I'm Jacob Young, the Surreal Sports Live Network. Thank you all so very much for watching as we just hit past an hour, but I wanted to get all of that done. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday. And once again, I've been Jacob Young, the Surreal Sports Live